where we'll discuss the relationship between ESG principles and the usage of technology in a world that is embracing both digital transformation and a new approach to sustainability issues. New trends in consumption means new trends for companies that want to follow new business models with sustainability as a major driver. And against the risks of greenwashing, and the problem now is shifting to the managing and reporting of authentic data to shape trustworthy, efficient, sustainable business environment. And this is a problem of every company. Stefano Besana, he is head of the digital and future of work solution within EY, and is responsible for the Webspace Italy innovative, which is an innovative and collaborative hubs for transformative experience design. He's professor in several universities and is doing a PhD. I was very much curious about this, on positive innovation networks to study the impact of network flow on innovation.
That nowadays sustainability and more broadly ESG as something which is extremely relevant to our companies, in the sense that has become not just a trend or not just something that organizations are starting to address and starting to comprehend, but we are moving in an era of execution. We are moving in an era where customer, where people, where employees are expecting companies to play a different and a complete new role in this kind of field and in this kind of topic. So the thing is that we have conducted as EY research together with SWG to understand a little bit better the perception of consumer and the perception of the organization in terms of ESG indicator, in terms of what is the real value that people and organization could bring to the market when talking about ESG. The first things that we are understanding from the market and looking to data is that for people, for the customer and for the end clients of the companies, of our clients, has started to become more and more important to establish a new role of the organization. So people outside the companies tend to prefer and tend to buy and to be more willing to buy products from companies that are sustainable, that are paying a lot of attention, not just on the sustainability and then the green dimension, but also on the people dimension, on the governance dimension. If we took the different indicator that the World Economic Forum has established for the ESG, we know that people, that diversity, inclusion, we know that the employee experience, the employee engagement is something extremely important for those kind of indicators. And people are starting to understand that organizations should play and could play a crucial and differentiating role in this. So our clients tend to prefer organization which has a clear purpose, which are based on long-term value. So it's not just, working in a non-sustainable way, but innovating and producing product, but in a much more inclusive and much more sustainable way. And this, through the pandemic, we have seen in a couple of years a huge switch in this. So 66% of increase compared to 2019 at the same survey of interest in buying products from companies which are working with a clear purpose, which has the clear purpose of being able to navigate through uncertainty, to be able to use the diversity as a lever to increase the productivity and to increase a lot of different aspects in terms of inclusion, and a lot of interest in effectively the purpose of the company. So the future of work and the future of companies in terms of what it's expecting for the future, according to the survey that we have conducted, is the being respectful in terms of the environment, of course. So that's of course something that we all know very well, and it's compelling in terms of the things that we need to cover and we need to do. So in terms of being respectful through the resources that we use, to the impact that the organization has on the environment, this is something very crucial and very important. In the second place, in terms of the characteristic that made a brand and made a company interesting and help people and are willing people to buy its product is respectful for a brand which is respectful for the environment, a brand which is paying attention, a lot of attention to the well-being of its own employees. So the employee dimension starts to become very important, resonate on competencies, working on new skills, working on the well-being of people, and making people able to evolve their organizational culture. It's extremely important. The third place, but is extremely important and has gained a lot of attention in terms of what we have seen in the pandemic, is the purpose. So companies which have a clear purpose, which are able to build transformative value, which is able to bring authenticity, which is able to extend and provide the proper asset to provide value to the entire ecosystem, is something that is perceived as extremely useful and is perceived as extremely relevant to a lot of customers that we have had the chance to interview. We need to be able to integrate, and we need to be able to provide new governance and new operating model, which are based on this kind of concept, which are considering the diversity, which are able to be more inclusive, which are able to be more compelling and more able to help our people to navigate through the uncertainty and through the times, the hard times that we are living. So people are starting to request this to the organization, to provide value for the entire ecosystem, to provide a purpose, and organizations are made as we perfectly know, are made by people and are made of people. So people are playing a crucial role in this, in terms of competencies, in terms of the things that they can bring as value to the entire firm. Actually, I strongly believe the effectiveness and the capabilities of organization that we will be able to succeed in the next future on these indicators, regardless the let's say topics and the difficulties and the challenges that they will have to face, are so the most effective companies will be those who will be able to act and think with a logic of the ecosystem. So bringing really the capabilities on the table to be able to act and to organize themselves an ecosystem, regarding last the barriers of the organization. So establishing partnership, resonating and thinking as a community, thinking as a platform. We see a lot of trends in this example. We see a lot of new business models that are popping up also in some more traditional and old companies, thinking with this kind of logic of ecosystem, of holistic approach, of putting together all the elements that you need in the ecosystem and in the entire landscape that are able to provide value for the end clients. So what I'm seeing is that those companies that are able to succeed, and those companies that are able to prove that they're effective in this kind of transformation, which is a cultural transformation, even before it is a technological or change and some labels or trends that we need to focus on, is a way of thinking things in terms of culture and in terms of activities that we can bring to the markets.
Antonio is the Deloitte Global Blockchain CTO and head of the Deloitte EMEA Blockchain Lab, and has been heading and leading the Deloitte technical blockchain roadmap for the past 5 years.
ESG space and the whole sustainability, technology really matters. It's one of those areas where technology is part of the strategy, and we published recently our tech trends. So I suggest everyone to read, where we say strategy engineered, where technology is now really part of the definition of the goals, part of the definition of what we want to achieve. So we are living now in an era where the CTO, people like me, who are more technical, much more technical, and like to play with tech, sometimes only for the sake of tech, they are actually at the table because they are going to influence the strategy very much. So a CTO is a strategist nowadays, and that's a big change. And ESG is driving that, because without technology, we're not going anywhere. Blockchain is a truth machine, is a trust machine. So by definition, the ability to create a single source of truth, shared ledger across organizations, it's what blockchain is built for. We have seen what blockchain is doing in the digital asset space, but supply chain, sustainability, tools for equity, so to understand whether organizations are really matching all the development goals, the sustainability. Blockchain is what can bridge that gap because of the nature of it. But blockchain is not the only one, and there are several reasons for that. I always see the triangle of technology, blockchain, IoT, and artificial intelligence playing together in this area. Imagine, in blockchain, in the end, you have the three tech stacks here, and they're truly independent between each other. There's not one without the other in this space. Blockchain, of course, is your shared ledger, your trust machine. The data is there, it's safe, or the digital identities. But there's going to be a huge play of IoT, tagging devices, measurement devices, and IoT itself cannot function properly without blockchain, without a blockchain digital identity. And then you're gonna see more AI and mathematical models that are gonna help identifying fraud. They're gonna help identify data patterns, etc. And yet again, all those AI will need a trusted data set to function, and that's again where blockchain can play a massive role. So you see this triangle between IoT, blockchain, and AI being crucial, being at the core to deliver ESG. The end goal is, as I said, that triangle of blockchain, AI, and IoT that can really help you reducing the risk of fraudulent data. That would be the end goal. There will always be, some degree of fraudulent data in, but I think the end goal would be to have everything automated. But it's gonna be a journey, and at the moment, the journey that I'm seeing is that auditors are actually still verifying data and attesting and putting the attestation on chain, which is quite interesting because even the attestation can be fraudulent. And so you can avoid that. So you got an attestation, and the digital identity is only one. You cannot fake an attestation on a public blockchain. It's impossible. it really takes a lot of work. So I think it's a journey, and there's going to be steps. One that I'm seeing now, Carlo, is auditors attesting on blockchain, becoming part of the blockchain ecosystem. Future should be all automated. What are the auditors going to do then? I think they're going to play a role within blockchain.
I would like to introduce Diletta D'Onofrio, which is working for KPMG and is partner in strategy, technology, media, and telecommunication. Diletta has been consulting for various big tech companies in her role as a consultant.
The position that high-tech companies are taking in the space of ESG is actually pretty strong in all cases. But the like of the biggest one are actually already ahead of the legislation, have already implemented a reporting structure, at least at the management reporting level, and they are tracking metrics like diversity or energy consumption or other ESG specific topic in a systematic way, even on a monthly basis. And that has instigated behaviors within the organization around the recruiting, around people development, change management, organizational structure. So some companies are ahead of others, and their timeline is completely independent from the legislator. They already have instigated internally changes that materialize in actually internal and external business value. So I think the real game here is going to be kind of be ahead of the game and establish first a management reporting structure, and then with the management reporting structure in place, support the external reporting requirement.
There's two angles of that. There could be, there is a solving a real business problem, solving a real challenge that you couldn't do before, and that usually answers the questions quickly, and you move to the next one. What is my commitment then? What do I need to do? And that's where things get a little bit hard. In the blockchain space, I'm talking about the VeChain, we're doing it well, and we're growing the ecosystem, but there's always, participating to an ecosystem means you got to provide the hardware infrastructure to do that. You got to be a participant. You cannot just sit there, and there is an investment to be made in terms of tokens, etc. And there is, which is money, and there is an investment to be made in terms of security, because once tokens are gone, and you want to make them secure.
Often these type of changes need to be instigated from the regulator, because then what they launch is a readiness program. So the milestone that we looked at before, both from an SEC, a European Commission perspective of 2021 and 2022, are driving a lot of the action within companies, even more than just the commercial aspect, because it's becoming a compliance discussion in addition to a commercial discussion or a marketing discussion, as you define it. I do agree with you that some of these changes have seen some resistance, especially in terms of the quality of the disclosure, because one thing is to come up with qualitative statement, and another thing is to actually state numbers where improvement are applied in all the various dimensions of ESG. And when it comes down to numbers, there are different behaviors, and there are some resistance in place. Again, my perspective is a little skewed, because being part of TMT, majority of my clients have been technology clients. They tend to be fairly open to change, right? If technology is not open to change, then who? So I would imagine in other industries that I'm not as familiar with, like retail or more traditional industries, right? Even financial services. I would imagine the behavior and the action are probably completely different. So to respond to your question, how do we accelerate that, and how do we transform this change from just a marketing sales initiative to actually something sustainable over time? I think we do need the support of the regulator and the compliance program, and obviously the endorsement of the senior management team around the value of this type of reporting.